Here, please. As I was saying, I'm very excited to work on this project about international teachers here at Germany.
Excuse me, everyone. Today, our new teacher, Nia Mika, will be attending her first meeting here.
Hello guys, I'm Nia and I'm really glad to be able to contribute to this project.
So, Nia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, so hi everyone. My name is Nia Mika, I'm 35 years old and I have been an English teacher for more than 10 years. Oh, I'm also from Tuvalu.
What's Tuvalu?
I can answer that. Tuvalu is an island country in Oceania, situated about midway between Hawaii and Australia.
That's right.
In 1892, through the expansion of the Annecy Islands, as they were called, it became a British protectorate and then possibly in 1916 part of the Gilbert and Annecy Islands colony. However, another curiosity is that even being an unknown place, this island was used by the United States as an air and naval basis. In 1978, the country became independent. After this process, the main priorities are to focus on stabilizing the national infrastructure, even a small one, and basis that search for external help to assist in its economic and political independence.
Well, I didn't know that. And for those who doesn't know much about global warming, I have a small video that I would love to show you all. And it is one of my class teams, and it gives a general idea about what is global warming. I hope you enjoy it.
Hello dear students, so today we will have a very important class about a long-term phenomenon that affects the whole world, global warming. So the definition of global warming resumes in the slower heating of Earth's surface observed since the pre-industrial period, that is the period between 1850 to 1900, due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning. It occurs through the greenhouse effect, which is when carbon dioxide, CO2, and other air pollutants accumulate in the atmosphere and absorb solar radiation and sunlight that bounces off the Earth's surface. Specifically, the rise in concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are by far the biggest cause, through the large burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, gasoline, and natural gas. So, a more sustainable planet is the key for all the situation, because if the global issue continues the way it is today, we will have serious consequences in the future. But for this, the industry needs to change its ideologies about protection to make products and services focus on the preserving Earth's natural resources. And it is slowly changing with ESG movements, that is the abbreviation of environment, social and governance, but it needs to be faster to stop these impacts. So now I wanted to read with you all a cartoon about global warming. So there we have an illustration with one island and two sharks. One shark is saying to the other, "Good news! At the current rate of global warming, we should be able to just swim over there and eat him in under 5 years." It's because one of the consequences of global warming is the sinking of the islands that we have in our planet, and the situation is so much worrying for us.
Great explanation, Raissa. I think I can contribute with the explanation of global warming in a biological perspective. Scientists often attribute the global warming to the human expansion of the greenhouse effect, warming that results when the atmosphere traps the heat radiating from the sun in the earth towards space. Global warming occurs when carbon dioxide, CO2, and other air pollutants collect the atmosphere and absorb the sunlight. Well, the Earth's temperature depends on the balance between the energy entering and leaving the planet's system. When the sunlight reaches the Earth's surface, it can be reflected into space or absorbed by the Earth. Incoming energy that is absorbed by the Earth warms the planet. Once absorbed, the planet releases some of the energy back into the atmosphere as heat, also called infrared radiation. Solar energy that is reflected to space does not warm the Earth. Certain gases on the atmosphere absorb energy, slowing or preventing the loss of heat to space. Those gases are known as greenhouse gases. They act like a blanket, making the Earth warmer, and this is commonly known as greenhouse effect. This is very natural and is necessary to support life. However, the recent buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere from human activities have been changing the Earth climate, and these are resulting dangerous effects to human health and welfare to ecosystem.
I'm loving the discussion. I'm so excited to work with you all.
Great, Nia! Here I like people interested in new things and learn, and mainly, people who know to work in a group. By the way, I would love to explain how the discussions about global warming started. Global warming was first described in 1859 by Irish scientist John Tyndall. The greenhouse effect is therefore a layer of gases accumulate over the Earth's surface, and Tyndall discovered that some gases could impede infrared. He suggests that changes in gas concentration can cause a change, but only in 1896 a chemical called 7 August Arrhenius published first global warming calculation of human CO2 emissions. That is a tool that is possible to discover an estimate of how much carbon is distributed by our activities.
Also, a UN report warned in 1989 that Tuvalu, together with other countries, would be decimated by climate change in the 21st century due to rising sea levels.
Well, now I know about Tuvalu sinking island, but I need to understand better how does global warming affect Tuvalu existence.
Oh, I already heard that Tuvalu participates in the operations of the PREP, and they said that the climate there is influenced by several factors, such as trade wind regimes, the El Niño Southern Oscillation, and many more natural events.
Exactly, and also a few studies confirm that the influence of global warming could be a major factor in accentuating the current climate regimes and the changes that come with the ionizable events. So basically, the systematic warming of the planet is directly causing global sea level to rise in two primary ways. So, mountain glaciers and polar ice sheets are increasingly melting and adding more water to the ocean, and the warming of the water in the oceans leads to increased volume. So, global sea level has risen to 140 millimeters since 1880. So, as global temperatures continue to warm, sea level will keep rising for a long time, and the magnitude of the rise will depend on future carbon dioxide emissions and future global warming. So that's why sustainability is so important to us. Oh, I even have a friend there called Sean Gallagher, and he said that the situation there is really concerning.
You see, the highest point in Tuvalu is on a few meters above sea level. So if something happens to change in the sea, it's gonna affect people's life there. This picture is a great example I'm talking about.
Oh my god, that's so shocking. It must really affect people there.
You have no idea. Besides the risk caused by the invasion of the sea, Tuvalu has faced several problems in recent years. Stronger cyclones and prolonged periods of drought are common factors there.
Oh, I know that there are some problems related to nature environment because the wet season brings tropical cyclones which inflict extensive damage on local land, agriculture, and major food source. On the other hand, the drought season is defined by an increasing number of droughts, which is concerned because the main source of fresh water in Tuvalu is rainwater, since groundwater resources are no longer suitable for human consumption to the pollution from saltwater intrusion caused by rising sea levels.
Just out of curiosity, the El Niño oscillation is a consequence of strong and extensive interactions between the ocean and atmosphere, which causes an anomalous warming of sea surface temperature every few years, typically concentrated in the Central-East Equatorial Pacific, and it can lead to significant socio-economic impacts, affecting infrastructure, agriculture, health, and energy sectors, for example.
And it also must impact health with waterborne diseases, such as diarrheal disease, contaminated by water, respiratory disease, infective and obstructive, compromising food security, causing nutrition and non-communicable diseases, vector-borne diseases, psychological and mental health problems, injuries and deaths from weather extreme events, fish poisoning, known as ciguatera, and skin infections.
That's true, and besides health, climate change also has a big impact on the economy. The marine ecosystem is a vital component of Tuvalu's economy since it's a primary source of employment and domestic food production. And climate change might decrease fishery population since rising ocean temperatures cause the bleaching of coral reefs, which are essential for shore protection and reproduction of native fish. And also, salinity intrusion, enhanced by the porosity of soil in Tuvalu, has destroyed polaca. And basically, polaca is a really popular crop grown there, and also decreased the yields of many other fruit trees.
While you all were talking, I decided to do a little research about Tuvalu, and got already. 2 of Tuvalu's 9 islands are on the verge of going under. The government says swallowed by sea rise and coastal erosion, and most of the islands sit barely 3 meters above sea level.
Yeah, and scientists even predict that Tuvalu could become uninhabitable in the next 50 years, but as locals, we feel it could be much sooner.
Fortunately, there are some projects in progress, such as the development of a disaster plan, the Plant a Tree program, community water tank projects, and seawall construction.
Interesting. Can you talk more about those?
Sure, the disaster plan is basically a long-term national adaptation strategy, including a stage lane reclamation program that considers a worst-case scenario of sea level in Tuvalu rising by 1 meter by year 2100.
What about the Plant a Tree project?
The project was designed to create protective banks of trees along windward coast. Excessive clearing of coastal trees for fuelwood has compounded erosion problems for Tuvalu, but an initial planting of 1,500 trees will help stabilize the coastline and provide a windbreak and seawall to support further plantings in coming years. Already 850 salt-tolerant trees has been planted by project leaders and volunteers. As these trees mature, their thick roots will form a band that can help protect inland groundwater research as well.
But is it enough to contain the effects of sea level rise?
The Tuvalu government is building seawalls to mitigate the effects of sea level rise, protect inland infrastructure, and increase local resilience to climate change hazards as well. It is pursuing a transition toward a green economic which will offer the best chance of achieving sustainable economic, social, and environmental development through the creation of green jobs designed to mitigate the hazards of climate change.
Oh, and about the community water tank project, a really nice example is about the cistern that can hold 700,000 liters of water that was given to a community in Tuvalu under the Pacific Adaptation to Climate Change project. Since this will help build resilience and reduce vulnerability of the community when it comes to water shortages.
Besides that, the government is also securing increasing funding from global climate finance facilities. An example is the Tuvalu Survival Fund that was established to finance recovery and rehabilitation from climate change impacts and disasters, and climate change investments in mitigation and in adaptation projects. However, greater investment is needed to grow and sustain the Tuvalu Survival Fund to effectively adapt to and deflect the impacts of climate change and respond to disasters events.
Oh, another really cool initiative is the AWARE program that is bringing greater environmental awareness to students in Tuvalu's capital. Basically, the program aims to engage students and their parents in hands-on activities to preserve and improve sensitive island ecosystems as coastal trees and the reef systems that will play an increasingly important role in protecting the island during the coming years. So the program brings biologists to the class and sponsors trips to vulnerable island ecosystems.
It would be really cool if the other countries did the same.
Well, they may not have the our project specifically, but due to this strong climate change and the concern for the future of countries like Tuvalu, the Alliance of Small Islands Countries ALCES was created to give more visibility to the serious impacts of global warming on countries in development.
And what does IOSIS do exactly?
The ALCES insistence was crucial. For example, for reference in the Paris Agreements in 2015 to the importance of dealing with so-called loss and damage, compensation for the irreversible climate damage to which it is not possible to adapt. In a message to COP26, the current president of ALCES, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Bermuda, Gaston Brown, recalled that the contribution of small developing islands to global CO2 emissions is less than 1%.
Our countries are the least responsible for environment damage in the world, but we pay the highest price.
And Tuvalu is also looking to achieve something that developing countries ask for and rich countries refuse to grant: compensation for loss and damage caused by climate change.
Whoa, but then this Paris Convention must be very important to minimize the loss and the damages associated with the adverse effects of climate change, especially because of the compensations to the countries that are the less responsible for the emissions but the most affected.
That's right.
Guys, look what I found on the internet. I'm sure you like Luis. It's about the new statistics about the Tuvalu's TV programs.
Interesting. Let's see what it brings to us.
So good night to everyone that is watching us right now to one more episode of the Tonight Show starring me, Vanessa Fallow. So today we will receive a specialist in statistics. So a round of applause to Carlos Cesar.
Thanks for receiving me here, Vanessa.
So we all know that you are one of the famous searches about Tuvalu situations right now, right? But to be honest, I even didn't know what is Tuvalu before this interview. Although I think that is an important topic, even because the worrying situation that they are facing right now. So, what can you say to us about this small country in Pacific?
Well, Tuvalu is the fourth smallest country in the world in terms of geography. Its population is mostly urban, with a fertility rate of 3 children and life expectancy of around 60 years. Talking about the air quality of the country, the carbon dioxide emission levels for the Tuvalu increased a lot in the last years. The energy sector is the main contributor to CO2 emissions. But even with the low emissions, Tuvalu is the one of the regions most affected by climate change caused by global warming.
And about this fact, it's common to see many news and people's discussions about the probability of Tuvalu disappearing in the ocean because of the high sea level. Is that true?
So unfortunately, it's true. Tuvalu has a low-lying topography. According to the Emergency Events Database, Tuvalu has experienced an average of 2 natural disasters per decade. If the whole world doesn't work together to revert this situation, in the future we only see the name of Tuvalu only in the history books.
I have one more question. In relation to sustainability, what Tuvalu are doing about?
To have an overview about it, we can see Tuvalu's Sustainable Development Report. The only sustainable goal reached is climate action, which is taking urgent action to combat climate change. And considering the risk of Tuvalu disappearing due to global warming, we can say that this goal is the most important for the moment. But one good news is they are on track to reach more SDGs, and it will help the government of Tuvalu achieve its updated target of reducing greenhouse gas emission from the electricity generation sector by 100% by the year 2025.
Wait a minute. I have one little question about this whole story. We are in 2033 and until now we don't have any plans to prevent the sinking of the island. I was looking here and Tuvalu is not the only one with the risk of disappear. They need to continue the encourage of the sustainable actions, mainly in the big companies, like reduce the pollutants resulting from the production and investment in global warming preventive measures. The situation will be improved by a lot with this type of changes. But talking about faster solutions, like you said, the Tuvalu's government already did very good things to reduce the impacts, like the development of the disaster plan, the planting program, community water tanks projects, and seawall construction. Although that not be enough to prevent the sink of the island. Other ways, planning cities like Australia's Canberra and Brazil capital Brasilia show that reallocation major population is possible and achievable, but is not coming without a cost. That's for sure. Tuvalu can afford all of this. The cost of relocating Indonesia capital, for example, comes to an eye-watering $302 billion.
I believe that they should try to solve internal problems, for example, related to food. Tuvalu's agriculture departments should introduce other plant varieties, focus on those that are easy to cultivate, take short periods of time to grow, and that do not require much water, like sweet potato, for instance.
Related to food, Tuvalu already has some sustainable solutions for agriculture since the government there is really focused on home gardening by teaching families how to produce nutritious food in their backyards to promote health. So basically, sustainable agriculture there centers on creating a reliable food source that can survive the country's harsh and soil conditions. Oh, and also the fisheries department is helping to develop aquaculture and the production of several species of fish. The department is also looking at the preservation of their habitats by, for example, passing legislation for preservation of certain fishing grounds.
Oh,
Oh, that's really nice. And besides that, they should invest more in renewable energy projects such as solar to use renewable energy source to support communities, especially in the rural areas, and minimize the dependence on kerosene, especially because solar energy is an excellent substitute for scarce resource and it's more friendly with the environment.
Oh, I think that's a great idea, especially because there is a society called Tuvalu Solar Electric Corporation Society that basically aims to promote solar power where refrigerators and other appliances could be used. And this project hopes to install cheap facilities such as lights and refrigerators, as I already said, and solar cooking stoves, which people can afford and are easily maintained.
Oh, that remembered about the global scope, so some actions should be taken in a large scale, to be honest. For example, what some global leaders could do to help Tuvalu is encourage their representatives to support cutting carbon dioxide emissions, donate water or other necessary supplies in the event of an emergency, and even express the importance of keeping US in the Paris climate according to the White House, since the country already expressed their interest to being out of the Paris Climate Accord.
Leda, I think those are great ideas.
So thanks, Nia, to present yourself for us and join this project to provide more international experts for our students. Welcome to our Gemini family.
Thank you so much, Linda. I'm really grateful to be here and to be able to help in this mission.
Thank you, dear.
According to the statistics, we have 90% of probability to get faster to the Edu's house if we go now.
And I have already planned all of our path, and it will be take at least 24 minutes to get there.
So come on, guys, we're taking all this positive energy to party all night. And Nia, you are invited too, if you want to come, of course.
And now it's raining! The nature is calling us. Let's have a great happy hour, friends.
That's okay, guys. Let's dance until we hit the ground.
Tuvalu!
Tuvalu!
So Linda, you're the other English teacher, right?
There's also Carla, but she's on a trip to Portugal with her husband.
Oh really? Europe's such a beautiful place.
So is Tuvalu, I suppose?
That's right. By the way, you should definitely go there someday.
I would love to.